everyone. Welcome back to the deep dive. We're here again trying to cut through all that noise, get straight to what really matters. Today, it's all about understanding truth and, well, clarity, especially when we're just constantly swamped with information. And we're doing a deep dive into a really fascinating source today. It's powerful, but also really concise. It's a collection called Aphorisms on Truth and Clarity. Now, an aphorism, just so we're clear, it's basically a really sharp statement, sometimes witty, just a sentence or two, packing a punch, capturing some kind of universal truth or observation. So, yeah, not long academic papers. These are short, thought-provoking nuggets, and each one gives you this profound insight into how we process information, how we communicate, and maybe more importantly, how we often get tangled up in both. So our mission really is to unpack these little gems. We want to show you their practical power, how they can help you navigate this daily overload of data, help you figure out what's genuine understanding versus just complexity for complexity's sake, finding what really resonates. Okay, let's unpack this. What happens when complexity isn't quite what it seems? And how do we find the real message hidden in there?
It is quite remarkable, isn't it, how aphorisms themselves, just by their form, show the power of distillation. They just strip away everything non-essential, leaving the core insight. It's elegant. And these aren't just like clever sayings you'd find in a fortune cookie. They actually give us a framework, a way to think critically about how information is presented to us, and maybe even more importantly, how we process it ourselves. So for you, listening and trying to gain knowledge quickly, thoroughly, these insights are incredibly relevant. They're like tools, really. Tools to help you tell clarity from clutter, making your quest for understanding, well, hopefully more efficient, more impactful, a kind of mental shortcut to what matters.
I couldn't agree more. It's funny how easily we can fall for that illusion of understanding, right? So let's jump right in. Our first aphorism, this one paints such a vivid picture, I think, especially if you've ever felt overwhelmed. It goes, "A tangled knot can look like art until you're the one trying to pull it free." That looks like art part.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that really sticks with me. I mean, we've all been there, haven't we?
Oh, absolutely.
You see something incredibly complex. Maybe it's an intricate diagram or a proposal just full of jargon or even just a really technical explanation. And at first glance, it looks impressive, profound maybe, even beautiful in a complicated way. You might even nod along thinking, wow, this is brilliant.
Right.
But then you try to do something with it to actually engage or understand the core of it. And suddenly that beautiful art just reveals itself as a muddled, frustrating mess. What is it, do you think, that makes us initially fall for that art of complexity?
Well, what's truly insidious here, I think, is how our own brains can kind of trick us. We often just assume that something complex must be important,
Sure.
intelligent. It's almost like a cognitive bias, isn't it?
Yeah, like complexity equals value.
Exactly. It makes us admire the art of it,
Mm-hmm.
even when underneath it might just be poorly structured information, or maybe just confusing. The real insight here is recognizing that the burden isn't always on you to understand. Sometimes the communicator just hasn't untangled their own thoughts properly. Or maybe worse, they're sort of deliberately trying to impress you rather than actually inform you.
Oh.
And that crucial phrase, until you're the one trying to pull it free, that really highlights the practical consequence, right? That supposed art actually gets in the way. It impedes action, cripples understanding, it halts progress. It shifts from being something you admire to just a source of frustration. A total waste of mental energy, really.
That's such a powerful distinction because I think a lot of us, we automatically blame ourselves when we can't grasp something complex. We think, oh, I'm just not smart enough for this.
Yeah.
When maybe, just maybe, the problem isn't with us at all. So how do we even begin to untangle these knots when we find them? Because they seem to be everywhere. Exactly. It's about shifting that perspective first, realizing it's not necessarily a you problem. When information is presented as that tangled knot, it just eats up your most valuable resources, your time, your mental energy.
Right.
You might spend hours trying to decode something that honestly should have taken minutes if it was presented clearly, all because it was dressed up in this impressive but totally impractical artistic form. So the question for us then, as people trying to learn and also trying to communicate, it becomes, how often do we just admire the art of complexity without really questioning its usefulness, its purpose? Does it actually help us understand? We need to learn to spot the difference. What's genuine depth, which is great, versus just gratuitous complexity, which only confuses things. That's a brilliant segue, actually. Because once you start seeing those tangled knots, you naturally wonder, well, what happened to the actual truth buried inside all that mess? And that brings us perfectly to our second aphorism. The truth when dressed in too many layers, starts to look like a stranger.
I love that imagery.
Dressing the truth, it sounds almost deliberate, or maybe just something that accumulates over time.
Can be both, I think.
But what kind of layers are we talking about here? Is it always intentional misdirection? This is where it gets really interesting for me. How do these layers even develop? And what happens when the core message gets so camouflaged that it's just completely unrecognizable, a stranger, even to people actively looking for it?
You've hit on a key point there. It's not always intentional. It's important. Sometimes, yes, the layers are excessive jargon or maybe flowery language, perhaps used to obscure or impress, like we just discussed. But often, it's actually well-intentioned additions. Extra context, supporting data point, all those caveats, the footnotes, things that just pile up. Think about like a really good simple idea in a meeting. And then it gets loaded with so many what ifs, but we also need to consider this, that by the end, you've completely forgotten what the initial great idea even was.
Yeah, I've definitely been in that meeting.
Right. The truth isn't gone, but it's so camouflaged, it becomes this stranger. It feels unfamiliar, unapproachable. You might even encounter it and just dismiss it because it doesn't look like what you were expecting. It doesn't connect. And the real aha moment here, I think, is realizing that recognizing this stranger truth means you have to become a more proactive editor of information.
So it's an active process for the receiver, too.
Absolutely. You're not just passively receiving anymore, you're actively stripping away layers, even the well-intentioned ones. To find that fundamental message underneath, it's about cultivating maybe a minimalist mindset when it comes to understanding information.
I like that minimalist mindset for understanding.
I remember seeing this report once. It was just packed with so many charts and appendices. I felt like I needed a decoder ring just to find the main point. When I finally, mentally, stripped it all back, the core message was actually incredibly simple and vital. It really made me realize that sometimes the struggle we have grasping a concept isn't about our own intelligence. It's because the truth itself has been buried under all this unnecessary stuff. It's been over-explained, maybe over-analyzed, or just over-decorated, until its simple, powerful core is just lost.
That resonates so much. Yeah, it's like the truth is there, but it's wearing this really elaborate bad disguise. Okay, so we've got the problem. Information can be a tangled knot.
Right.
And the truth inside can become a stranger under too many layers. But what's the solution? How do we cut through all of that noise without constantly having to untangle or undress everything we encounter?
Our third and final aphorism for today offers, I think, a really profound answer. Clarity doesn't shout, it whispers and still cuts through the noise. Now this really flips the script, doesn't it? It overturns that common idea that to be heard, to be understood, you've got to be loud, assertive, forceful.
Completely.
We live in a world where everyone seems to be shouting for attention, right?
Right.
On social media, in meetings, headlines, it's all clamoring. But what if the most powerful voice is actually the quietest one? So what does this really mean for how we communicate and also how we consume information? If clarity whispers, how do we actually hear it? I mean, it's all the shouting. What's its secret weapon?
Well, this raises a really important question about what true impact actually is. Clarity's strength, I think, lies not in volume, but in its precision, its directness, and maybe its inherent self-evidence.
Self-evidence. A clear message, even if it's delivered softly, quietly. It has this distinct ability to just penetrate distractions, to resonate deeply. Why? Because it requires no force, no embellishment to be understood. It speaks directly to the mind, almost without resistance. It doesn't need to fight for attention. It simply is. It doesn't need to yell over the surrounding din because its very nature, its clarity, allows it to sort of bypass the noise altogether. Think about it. A truly clear point. Well, it doesn't really need to be debated endlessly. It just needs to be understood. And this is incredibly empowering, I think, for you as a learner, but also as a communicator.
How so?
It helps you understand that genuine influence, real comprehension. It doesn't come from just being loud or making things sound complex. It comes from the simple, unadorned power of clear communication. Imagine that meeting scenario again. One person spends 20 minutes giving this verbose, unclear explanation, just filling the room with muddled thoughts. Everyone's confused.
Yep, been there too.
Then another person speaks up, offers a concise, crystal clear summary in, say, 30 seconds. And it immediately shifts everyone's understanding, like a light bulb goes on.
Right.
That second one, the whisper of clarity, has far more impact, doesn't it? Because it connects directly. It requires no mental effort to decode. It just lands. It's not about being timid or shy. It's about being so precise, so clear that your message needs no extra noise around it.
That's a fantastic example, and it really makes me think about how often we mistake talking a lot for communicating effectively. They're not the same thing at all.
Not at all.
And if clarity whispers, it's almost like it demands a different kind of attention from us, doesn't it? A quieter focus, maybe. It sort of invites you in rather than just overwhelming you with volume.
Absolutely. It suggests a different kind of engagement, perhaps, a more active listening, maybe, a willingness to tune out the noise and listen for the signal. And it really challenges us to consider that true power isn't necessarily making the most noise, but perhaps making the most sense.
Okay, so bringing all three of these brilliant aphorisms together now, we can really see this cohesive narrative emerging, can't we?
Yeah, definitely.
We started with that deceptive challenge, the tangled knot, how complexity can masquerade as art, but really just leads to frustration and wasted effort.
Mm-hmm.
Then we moved to that hidden danger, the truth dressed as a stranger, how essential messages can get lost, become unrecognizable under too many layers, even well intentioned ones.
Right, the camouflage effect.
And finally, we arrived at this profound effectiveness of clarity that whispers, showing us a really powerful path towards genuine understanding, cutting through all that noise. For all of us, I think these aphorisms offer such a powerful lens, a way to evaluate the information we encounter every single day, whether it's in a news article, a business report, just a casual conversation, or even, sorting through our own thoughts.
That too, yeah.
And they also serve as a really valuable guide for our own communication, right? Encouraging us to strip away the unnecessary, aim for what's essential.
Indeed. I think the overarching message here is that this whole pursuit of knowledge and effective communication, too, it's often about simplification and discernment. It's about actively choosing to strip away the stuff that doesn't matter to reveal what's truly essential underneath. Our goal then maybe should be to move from that initial state of confusion, facing the knot, through the challenge of recognizing truths that might be hidden, and finally arriving at the profound, quiet understanding that clarity brings. And this means consciously valuing precision, valuing directness, more than we value perceived complexity or just sheer volume. It's an act of choice, really, to seek and also to create genuine clarity, becoming a more critical consumer and a more thoughtful communicator.
We've had quite the journey today, haven't we? Diving deep into these aphorisms on truth and clarity. We've learned about that deceptive nature of complexity, the ways truth can get obscured by, too many layers, and the quiet yet potent force of clarity that really does cut through the noise.
Yeah, and these aren't just abstract ideas, are they? They're really practical principles, things you can apply every single day. So what does this all mean for you? Navigating your day, your meetings, your personal learning, everything. Well, it means maybe trying to be a more active participant in seeking clarity, not just being a passive receiver of information.
Right.
It means maybe questioning the art of complexity when you see it, looking beyond the layers to find that familiar truth you're looking for, and just recognizing that the most impactful messages, they often don't need to shout to be heard.
Exactly. So maybe next time you encounter something that feels really complex or difficult to grasp, just take a moment, consider, is this truly profound? Or is it perhaps just a beautifully tangled knot, hiding a truth that just needs to whisper for you to truly hear it? Thank you so much for joining us for this deep dive into the essence of understanding. We really hope these insights help you cut through some of the noise out there and find the clarity you're looking for. We'll catch you next time.